So, you want to learn the method of strong finish in Sonic Racing Crossworld. Well, you came to the right place. I have been using strong finish since it dropped along with the patch, and I think out of all the new gadgets, it's the best one in the package. And if you've ever been curious about just how good strong finish is, then I got you covered. Someone probably wondering, why should I even consider this when I could just pick technical drift and level 4 to win races? Well, just hear me out for a moment if you want to have a unique way of having fun. So to start, what does strong finish do? Strong finish is a 2-slot gadget that makes you become invincible on the final lap of the race. A similar application to its older brother, Invincible Start, which gives you invincibility on the first lap. If you see my previous video talking about the worst gadgets in Sonic Racing Crossworld, I actually had Invincible Start on that list. The main reason was because while 40 seconds of invincibility sounded good, it was for the first lap, which is the least important lap in Sonic Racing Crossworlds. And unless it's the shootout event at festivals or their lower ranked players, no one is going to be throwing out their items at the start all willy-nilly. And if you wanted a front-running build, you're not going to get it from Invincible Start. You might as well just run Technical Drift level 4 or run a quick recovery build, especially when Invincible Start doesn't synergize well with other gadgets. Strong Finish is a different story. It gives you 20 seconds of invincibility during the final lap, and the final lap is the most important lap in Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Why? Because that's when all of the chaos starts. That's when everyone will start using their ultimate items like monster trucks and drill. That's when everyone will start throwing their attack items like red rockets and slicers. And it's also when you can expect things like weights, slime, and dark chow. So you at least have that 20-second grace period to get through 40 to 50% of the track without having to worry about these things. Sounds pretty convincing so far, right? Well, you do have to remember that you'll still have 50 to 60% of the track to finish without the invincibility. So this is no time to lollygag. This is a time where you have to be hyper focused on your surroundings. You need to pay close attention of who's in front of you, who's behind you, and what items they have, because they will be waiting for your invincibility to run out. Because the moment your invincibility runs out, they will be throwing their items at you. So situational awareness is very important. So, what's the game plan here? What gadgets work well with strong finish? I have a few variations of the gadget set, but the main one I use is strong finish, inventory plus, slipstream bounty, and ring gain mini boost. Inventory plus is a 2-slot gadget that gives you 3 item slots. Inventory plus is one of the best gadgets to synergize with strong finish, so I highly recommend it. And then we have slipstream bounty, which is one of the best gadgets in the game for catching up and gaining rings. And then we also have ring gain mini boost to pair alongside with slipstream bounty to help you catch up even more. This gadget set is revolved around bagging, and I think that this is one of the best ways to use strong finish in a gadget set. So the game plan is, you get through lap 1, and as you start to get to the Crossworld, that's when you want to start bagging for ultimate items like monster truck, drill, laser, or even triple wisp. And then when we get to the final lap, you'll have the 20 seconds to protect yourself with all of your ultimate items in hand, and once the invincibility runs out, now it's time to use all of your ultimate items to help you reach first place. But there is a little more to it, because you actually want to have a certain set of items that you'd want to have in your rotation. Now, what do I mean by this? It's better to have ultimate items like monster trucks, laser, and drill on your first slot than compared to something like triple wisp. Why? Because when you run out of invincibility, the wisp aren't going to protect you from attacking items. So if something like, say, a slicer is coming, well, you're going to have to lose all of your triple wisp. However, if you have something like a laser or a monster truck or drill, you are able to protect yourself from all forms of items. Triple wisp is something you'd want to have for your third slot or even your second slot, but the third slot is more ideal so that you'd have more protection from attack items with the other ultimate items. If you do happen to get the triple wisp on your first slot, then you just have to pray that no one has a slicer. The slicer is going to be your biggest enemy for a set like this. If your item combination consists of monster truck, drill, and laser, 85% of the time you're going to win. The other 15% is losing to level 4 tech drift users. Sometimes you will just have races where you cannot catch up to level 4 tech drift users, and bagging too hard can be your downfall if you're trying to catch up to them. Not saying that you can't, it's still possible to be able to beat level 4 tech drift users. It's just a little harder. So what happens in the cases where you choose to front run because you want to be able to stay close against level 4 tech drift users? Can you front run with a build like this? Yes, you can. You just have to change your strategy a little bit, and the items that you want is going to be different, obviously, since you're in the front. The items you want to aim for are a boost wisp, a shield, and a tornado. This one you could be a little bit flexible for the item order, but ideally you'd want to have something like a tornado or a shield on your second and third slot, because the first item slot, if you get a wisp, you want to be able to use that for a shortcut, and then for the final stretch of the race, you're going to need a shield or a tornado to protect you from the madness that's probably coming from behind, as well as any potential warp ring items that may drop at the final stretch. So this gadget set is very flexible for both bagging and front running, but bagging with this gadget set is the best way to go about it. If you do want another variation that's more focused on front running and bagging, there are a few alternatives that you can use instead of inventory plus. Sometimes I swap inventory plus for dash panel combo bounty so I can have an extra way of gaining rings to catch up to people or to get ahead of them with my slipstream bounty and ring gain mini boost. The other alternative is swapping out inventory plus for ring gain boost level 2 and then keeping slipstream bounty but replace ring gain mini boost for extended slipstream, which is another good way to help you catch up if you're behind. Or you can replace extended slipstream with dash panel mini bounty so you can have another way of collecting rings instead of depending on slipstream bounty if you're consistently behind. Or you can use strong finish with defense item up, slipstream bounty, and ring gain mini boost. So if you do choose to want to front run at the very end, you have more chances of getting the defense items that you'll need to protect yourself for the final stretch. As you can see, there are many ways that you could build around strong finish. It's a very flexible gadget, and that's why I think it's one of the strongest gadgets in the game. Now, here's a very important part of this video concerning strong finish. What are the best tracks for strong finish, and should you bag on this track or front run it? I've gotten tons of footage of every track in this game so you can see when the invincibility timer ends at which part of the track. So let's begin. East Stadium. The timer ends just after the big turn, but just before the warp ring shortcut. So you will be left wide open before reaching the warp ring shortcut. So it's probably best if you have a laser to help you reach the shortcut easier. Also, it is highly required that you take the grass shortcut at the beginning with the blue dash panel. East Stadium is this weird stage where you can either choose to front run or bag it. So depending on the situation, you can do both. Rainbow Garden. The invincibility ends when you reach the branching pathway, whether you choose to go to the right side or the left side. This is okay. You will be left open just before the big shortcut at the very end, so I'd recommend having a laser or a monster truck to protect yourself if you do decide to want to take that shortcut. You can theoretically front run this, but you just have to be careful if there is someone with a monster truck behind you if you choose to decide to take the last shortcut at the end. Water Palace, the invincibility ends after you hit that first ramp, and I'm gonna be honest, Water Palace isn't exactly amazing for strong finish, but it can still be helpful because since the level is so condensed and everyone is so close to each other, that's usually when you're gonna start seeing people using their monster trucks. The grass cut at the end isn't too huge, so I'd say that you can use this track to front run. Metal Harbor, the invincibility ends when you hit the ramp just before the rocket section. Honestly, this is another track that's not very great for strong finish, especially when most of the time people will start throwing their items just before reaching the rocket or during the rocket jump itself. You could both bag and front run in this track, but if you're going to choose to front run, please be careful when taking the last ramp jump at the very end, because there's most likely going to be someone with a monster truck or a slicer or any sort of attack item to mess you up. So either don't take it or just make sure you have a shield prepared. Sand Road, the invincibility ends just a little after reaching the water section. This is a track that you always want to bag it. Always. Because all of the big shortcuts make such a huge difference that you can come back at Sand Road pretty often. If you decide to take that shortcut just after getting off the Crossworld, you do give yourself a bit more invincibility time to work with. And for this track, I recommend having a monster truck, laser, or drill to be on your first and second slot. You do not want to have a wisp on your first slot because again, you will leave yourself open to get sliced, and that will really mess up your plans when trying to take the big shortcuts. Colorful Mall, the invincibility ends when you reach the ramp jump at the end of the track. This one is very interesting because you can choose to either go on the middle pathway or the bottom right pathway depending on if you're front running or bagging. If you are going to bag for ultimate items, I do recommend taking the bottom right pathway because of that giant grass shortcut that you could take with Triple Wisp or Monster Truck. That will get you ahead of everyone quite a bit, and then you can use your final ultimate item during the table shortcut. And since the pathways are separated, you do have more chances to avoid danger like monster trucks or drills. So Colorful Mall is very good for strong finish. Mystic Jungle, the invincibility ends at the end of the water slide section. This is already one of the shortest tracks in the game, so all you'll have left to do is get through the turn with the giant snake and then the final turn at the end, and then it's just that final stretch. You've already covered 50 to 60% of the track already with your strong finish, so that's very good. I highly recommend front running this track, especially since there's no major shortcuts for Mystic Jungle except for the grass cut at the start. Apotos, the invincibility ends when you reach the first flying section. Now, we know that Apotos is one of Satan's most evil tracks. And this is another very condensed track where you have to worry about monster trucks and drills and all sorts of attack items coming after you, and you just do not have the space to maneuver around. Bagging is low-key the safest option here, especially if you decide that you want to take the grass shortcut. But if you are going to decide to front run, I recommend getting a shield and a boost whisk so you can be able to take the grass shortcut safely. You want to have the shield in your first slot so you can avoid any monster trucks that may also be taking the grass shortcut. Wonder Museum, the invincibility ends after the big ramp jump. This is one of the worst tracks for strong finish because after it ends, you still have so much of the track to work with. Front running is very dangerous in Wonder Museum, so I recommend bagging for this track, especially if you want to have an ultimate item for the grass shortcut at the very end. There are a lot of chances that you can just get sliced or 2 to 3 warp ring items just decide to drop in. It happens. It can happen. Crystal Mine, the invincibility ends just before the flying section ends. It's pretty mediocre for strong finish, and you do still have a bit more of the track to deal with. If you do have a wisp or any other ultimate item like a laser, you are able to take the shortcut, which will help a little bit. But I honestly recommend front running on this track. Ocean View, the invincibility ends after the loop-de-loop. This is a bagging track. You want to bag on this track every single time. That final shortcut is important because if you don't take it, you lose. And I highly recommend having a monster truck or laser or drill at the very end, because there are going to be other people that are going to have their ultimate items to cut through that giant shortcut. So you want to be able to have those ultimate items to protect yourself from other people taking it. Haunted Mansion, the invisibility ends when you reach the room with the giant chandelier. Honestly, strong finish is not great here, and you do not want to take the invincible pathway. You'd really want to bag on this track. After the chandelier room, take the bottom pathway and start using your ultimate items to cut through the grass, and you'll gain a lot more miles than people on the top path. And you're also gonna want to take that grass cut at the very end, so bag for this track. Urban Canyon, the invincibility ends when you reach the flying section, and it is required to take those off-road sections if you want to make the most of the invincibility. Strong finish is okay here. I mostly recommend trying to front run this track, but you can bag this track, especially when you get a very good extension off of a laser at the very end with the last 2 turns. Market Street, the invincibility ends when you reach the giant turn. This one you want to front run in because there are no major shortcuts on Market Street. Just be careful because when you do reach the rooftops, that's usually when everyone is going to start using their ultimate items, or during the big turn, that's when everyone's going to start throwing their attack items. Coral Town, and this is keeping in mind that you are going to be using the big shortcut in Coral Town, and the invincibility ends right after you take that shortcut. So you do have a little bit of time left before you reach the very end. Honestly, front running is the best here, and if you do have a boost wish to be able to take that final off-road shortcut, you're usually guaranteed to win as long as you have a shield or a tornado to protect yourself. This is one of these shorter tracks in the game, so you really don't want to waste time on it. Blizzard Valley, the invincibility ends just before reaching the flying section. There aren't any major shortcuts here, so I would recommend front running, but just be wary. There will be people that will be using their monster trucks and their drills during the beginning section of this track. Just be sure that you have a shield and a tornado to protect yourself. Radical Highway, the invincibility ends when you get to the giant turn after the giant ramp jump. This is honestly not an amazing track for strong finish because the ramp jump takes so much time. You could theoretically front run because there are no major shortcuts in Radical Highway, but I think bagging is a little safer so you can have more safety nets just in case the chaos starts happening. Chow Park, the invincibility ends just before that infamous turn. No major shortcuts here, but this is also one of the most dangerous tracks in the game. That hallway just before reaching the water section, completely evil, and you could expect a bunch of monster trucks and drills to start coming in. You could front run, but it will be a little more risky, so I would recommend trying to bag this track. Donpa Factory, the invincibility ends when you reach the green slime section on the end of the track. This is one of the shorter tracks in the game, and you are able to get through most of it, so the most you'll have to do is successfully get through that giant circle shortcut with the car. Front running on this track is more ideal because as long as you have something like a shield or a tornado, you'll be okay. If you are behind, using the laser to take that giant shortcut will help you substantially. Aqua Forest, the invincibility ends just before the last water section in the track. This is a track I think you could both bag and front run. if you are front running, just be careful during the final water section because there will be people trying to mess you up if you're trying to decide to take the dash ring shortcut. So be sure you have a shield and a tornado to protect yourself. What also helps is if you are front running, because there's so little item boxes, you can be able to get away with it. And if your opponents decide that they want to get another item box, they can't take the dash ring shortcut. So I'd say front runners have a bit of an edge on this track. Eggman Expo, the invincibility ends when you reach the giant turn. This is another track where I think strong finish isn't that great, and Eggman Expo doesn't really have any big shortcuts. I would recommend front running this track, but just be very careful because that water section is one of the most evil sections in the game, and that's usually when people are going to start using their ultimate items. Kronos Island, the invisibility ends when you reach the ramp jump. Bag. It's Kronos Island. You know you have to bag. And you still have so much of the track to worry about because not only do you have the tower section, but then you also have the squid section. And you still have to be sure that you have a boost item so you could take the final cut at the end. Kronos Island sucks. North Star Island, the invisibility ends when you reach the giant fan. You also have to bag on the track because you need speed items to not only hit the warp ring shortcut, but also the giant off-road shortcut. You absolutely have to bag on North Star Island. White space, the invisibility ends at the start of the flying section. You want to bag for white space because you want to have the speed items that you'll need in order to get through that final section, which is one of the most evil sections in this game. That's usually when everyone is going to start spamming their ultimate items, monster trucks, drills, so you better be sure that you have the protection from that. Minecraft World, the invincibility ends when you reach the Nether. You actually have a lot to worry about in this flying section because there's going to be a lot of people that actually got that blue item box pickup, and most likely they're going to have 3 green boxing gloves or 3 red boxing gloves waiting to kill you. You can front run this track, but it's going to be very difficult. Just good luck trying to protect yourself, especially when you're trying to leave the Nether where you're just left open for attack. Bikini Bottom, the invisibility ends when you reach Goo Lagoon. This is another very short track, so you can get through it by front running. Just be sure that you have a boost item so you can take the final off-road shortcut and have a shield and a tornado to protect yourself at the very last stretch. Bagging would be a safer option though, if I'm gonna be honest. And then there's Pack Village and Pack Maze. The invincibility ends just before reaching the Pack Maze. It's not amazing because you do have to go through the entirety of the Pack Maze after the invincibility runs out, but there is also no major shortcuts in Pack Village, so I would recommend front running. And that is how every track interacts with strong finish, and that will be the end for me. The last thing I want to show off is a compilation of a bunch of races I've had using strong finish and what a good round with strong finish looks like, so you can get an idea of how it looks. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and comment what you thought about it, and if you're interested in seeing more of my videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get a notification of my next upload. So again, thank you all for watching, and please enjoy some strong finish gameplay.
hard won.
Final lap!
Well run.
Final lap!
Well run.
Final lap!
Victory hard won.
Final lap!
And so. hard won.
Final lap!
A victory hard won. A race well run.
Finish!
A race well run.
Final lap! Finish!
A race well run.
Final lap! Finish!
A race well run.
Final lap! Finish!